episode of Authentic Leader TV. I am your host, Amber Ludwig, and today we are going to talk about how to get results with blogging. And this is actually one of my favorite topics because this is how I started my company back in 2007. I knew that it was going to take me a while to establish my online presence and that I had to create an awesome foundation for my business. I had to create a really strong, solid online platform, and it is my belief that the best way to do that is by setting up a blog on your website. So we're going to talk all about how to structure your blog posts, how you can leverage other people's blogs to build your brand and get more exposure. We're going to talk about how to promote your blog posts, repurpose your content, and how to create a content plan so that you're very focused on exactly what to write about that's going to help you get better search engine results and also make sure that you don't have writer's block anymore. So hopefully I'm going to get you motivated to really rock your blog. And I really want to start by kind of telling you more about how I did it. So like I mentioned back in 2007, I wanted to create a company that was all about helping authors, speakers, and coaches to build their business online. And, you know, it's definitely a different way of marketing and creating content than you might assume. So what I did is I created a WordPress website for myself, and it was primarily just a blog in the very beginning. I started by writing about 2 to 3 blog posts a week because I knew that it was going to take me until I reached about 100 blog posts before I was really going to start to see results with that work and with that blog. And 100 seems like a lot of work, and it is. I mean, I'm not going to lie. But I knew that 100 was the goal, to where I would really start establishing a lot more traffic to my website that is organic or natural traffic from Google's search engine. Wasn't anything that I had to pay for. So right around when you hit about 100 blog posts, you're seeing a lot more traffic to your website. You're noticing a lot more comments, a lot more people sharing your content on social media, and that's really when that momentum has been built, and now it's time to either continue to grow that momentum or just maintain it. And so, you know, I wanted to get to 100 blog posts as fast as possible, so I ended up writing about 2 to 3 blog posts a week. And on weeks where I was extra inspired or I had a little free time, then I would try to write 4 or 5 in a week, because again, I really didn't want to delay, you know, my getting those results. Now, the hard thing about blogging is in the very beginning, because you feel frustrated, like there's nobody out there paying attention to all of this hard work that you're putting in. Nobody's commenting, you're not really building your email list, and yet you're spending so much time blogging and you're wondering, what is the point of this? Seriously. So what I did is I found some ways to increase the amount of time, or excuse me, decrease the amount of time that it took to create my blog posts, which I'm going to talk to you about. But all of a sudden, things started shifting the more I was blogging. And for example, one blog post that I wrote way back in the beginning when I was blogging was about Google personalization and how Google is actually changing the way that pages come up for you and pages rank in their search engine based on your previous search history. So for example, if you start searching about dog toys a lot, well, guess what? Those, you know, Google's going to record your preferences, your likes, the things that you have been searching on the most, and it's going to change the way, the structure of search engine results based on your, you know, your preferences, the things that you're most interested in. So anyway, I wrote this blog post all about Google personalization, and out of nowhere, one day I noticed that I got 1,000 new visitors to my website in 24 hours, literally overnight. And I thought, what is going on? Where are all these people coming from? So by looking at my webmaster tools and my analytics and really studying where that traffic came from, I realized that the editor-in-chief of Slate magazine, the online edition, had written an article and linked to my blog post from his. And because of that, I got 1,000 new visitors overnight to my website. And then I was really finally witnessing the power of blogging, that if you just kind of hang in there, if you keep trusting the vision, if you keep working toward that goal, it's gonna pay off for you big time. Because here's the thing that most people don't really understand. Google wants to see that you are regularly offering real value to your audience. And if you can kind of pass that test and prove to Google that you're in this for the long term, you're giving great value to your audience, then it's going to reward you by ranking you higher and higher in search engines for the keyword phrases that you write about. So for me, I'm writing about, website development and blogging and SEO and copywriting and social media. Ideally, you would only have one or two main topics that you kind of talk about. We're going to get into a good content plan for you here in a minute. But essentially, Google's going to start to see a pattern in all of your topics that you're writing about and start to rank you higher in search engines the more that you consistently blog. Google is not going to pay a lot of attention to you if you are like everybody else, where you create a website, you blog in it for a month or two at most, and then you just kind of stop. You give up because either you're finding that it's challenging to fit it in with the other tasks that you have going on in your business, or you have writer's block, or you think nobody's reading your posts and nobody cares. Everybody gives up in the first 3 months generally. But if you can prove to Google that you're not a quitter and that you're going to hang in there, you're going to get rewarded for that. And once that momentum is built, where Google is really starting to pay attention to you and you're publishing those blog posts on a regular basis, well then, like I said, you can either maintain those 2 to 3 to 4 blog posts a week, and you're just going to continue to grow. And that's when you're seeing websites that have 30,000 visitors a month, 100,000 visitors a month, more than that even. So that's really the power of blogging. Or if you decide that you just want to maintain that momentum, you could scale back to about 1 blog post a week and just kind of maintain that level. And that's actually what I chose to do for my business website at insightfuldevelopment.com, which soon I'll be merging with amberludwig.com and pushing all of those blog posts over to my primary website. But the point is that it really kind of started to make that difference once I was really getting into blogging a lot more often. So now what I want to do is I want to talk to you about some basic tips for blogging that are a little bit different than what you may have expected from me. So the first one is going to be conversational. This is a really important tip, because if you're just really kind of stuffy and professional and, well, how else should we say it, boring in your blog posts, you're not going to get the kind of engagement or readership that you would have otherwise if your tone was a little bit more relaxed, it had more personality, it was a little bit more conversational. Don't be afraid to be authentically you when you are writing your blog post. Be a little funny if you're a funny person, or use different languaging based on your personality that maybe most professionals wouldn't make. Whatever it is that's going to make you unique and have your personality shine through, you want to remember that with your blog post, because there's nothing worse than reading a really dry, boring blog post. So really, this is a chance to let your personality shine through. Another tip that I have for you is when you're writing your blog post, don't feel like it has to be super long. It doesn't have to be super long. In fact, you could probably get away with a short blog post that's about 4 to 5 short paragraphs. It doesn't have to be very long. I try to keep mine kind of a medium length. Sometimes they're really long, sometimes they're shorter. So just kind of, when you're first starting to blog, a lot of times people get up in their head about it and they think it has to be perfect and long and this polished article, and it doesn't have to be like that. There is no strict format for blogging. Everybody's blog is different, and that's kind of the point. Again, you really want to dictate how you show up in your blog. It's a representation of you and your personality, so kind of keep that in mind. Another tip that I have for you is you want to be a storyteller. People love stories, remember stories, and share stories. Anytime that you can educate people and use a story as a foundation, that's going to engage them in a much better, stronger way than if you didn't share a story. So as you sit down to write about your topic, think, what kind of stories can I use that can relate to this particular topic? Another tip that I have for you is that people really love lists. That's why you're seeing them all over the place. You know, your 7 keys to manage stress, or the 3 best ways to use email marketing, or whatever it is. So be really list oriented, because it's easier to digest when you have a list to go through instead of just a whole long drawn out block of text. Keep your paragraphs really, really short. I would say 2 to 3 sentences if you can get away with it. 4 is even pushing it, and beyond 4 is ridiculous. You have to break that up. And it's also nice to have subheadings. So when you're looking at, just go out there and look at blog posts. Look at the ones that you like reading the most. Typically, it's going to be, let's say the 3 ways to reduce stress. Number 1, and in bold, you say something like exercise on a regular basis. And then below that, you have a short paragraph that explains that number, that heading. Number 2 is to, eat a balanced diet or whatever, and then you're explaining that one, and then number 3 is blank. Because what's happening is when people are reading your blog post, they skim it. Everybody does it. I know you do it too. You probably do it to mine, and I expect that you do that. And so the best way is to have headings, bold headings, that kind of explain the overall gist of the article, but then your headlines should be so compelling that it excites them to then read what you've written below that. So just those are some kind of copywriting tips that you can carry over to all aspects of your website, but especially with blogging. You really want to present your blog in a way that's conversational, that's easy to digest, that's telling stories. Again, you can format your blog post really any way that you want to, but those are some really strong tips. And one other thing that just came to mind is you want to repurpose your content or continue to market it. I think a big mistake that I'm seeing a lot of entrepreneurs making online right now is that they have this very extensive blog that they've been writing in, but then they only share the article once on social media or in their newsletter. If you have 100 blog posts, let's say, you should go back to the beginning from time to time and start sharing those previous articles with your audience. Because as you know, you're constantly bringing new people into your network, constantly engaging those new prospects. But what about all of the other value that you've already spent time writing about? So, for example, if you're writing 1 blog post a week, well, on your social media, try to be promoting 1 blog post a day, and you can be remarketing those past blog posts because they still have the same amount of value. And if it's topics that are really of interest to your target audience, they're going to share those articles on their social networks, which is only going to help you grow that much faster. So those are some of my main tips, but I really next want to kind of go into the structure, like I said, how to leverage other people's networks, how to promote it, and so on and so forth. So in terms of a structure, you want to have a really compelling title. This is probably one of the most important things, because if your title is not engaging, then people probably aren't going to read it. And that first sentence or two is also really, really important. So what I like to do in my headlines is I like to have something that's kind of punchy, that's kind of creative, that really draws people in, and you kind of want to make your promise in that headline. So for me, like I mentioned, the 3 ways to reduce stress. Essentially what I'm telling you is that by reading this article, it's going to reduce your stress. So when you're thinking about, sometimes what I do is I actually write the whole article first, and then I'll come back and come up with a catchy title when I'm done. And sometimes I can find like funky languaging that I've used in my blog post that's going to be something that's really creative and fun. But then, so the title is going to be really important. Then you want to write, like I mentioned before, your 4 to 5 short paragraphs, list if you can, short paragraphs, all the things that I mentioned. But one thing that most entrepreneurs forget when they're blogging is to link back to previous articles that they've written. So we just talked about promoting it on social media again and again, but this is such a key tip for search engine optimization too, and getting better results on Google is by linking to past articles that you've already written. So for example, let's say that I wrote a blog post about how to build your business online, and somewhere in that article I talk about email marketing. Well, what I would do is I would make that link, that keyword phrase, email marketing, and I would link that to a page on my website that talks about the 7 ways to improve your email marketing or whatever. So it's probably going to be a blog post. Or if you have a services list, then you could link that to your service for email marketing for your customers. I would suggest that within each blog post, I would probably link maybe 3 different top keyword phrases that ultimately you want to rank for in Google back to previous pages and posts, because that's going to really, number one, get people to navigate through your website instead of them just reading that blog post only, and when they get to the end of it, they're done. But actually, it's going to get them to click on email marketing and then read that article, and then click on, ways to reduce stress, and then read that article. It's going to keep people on your website for a longer period of time. But then actually, for Google's sake, Google kind of scans your blog posts looking for keyword phrases. And when you bold a keyword phrase or you convert it into a link, Google pays attention to that keyword phrase more than if you did not bold or link that keyword phrase. So again, if I were to link email marketing, Google would pay attention. That keyword phrase would sort of lift out of the page and smack Google in the face and say, and Google would say, oh, this person, writes about email marketing. And so then you would slowly start to increase your rankings under the keyword phrase of email marketing when people search for that. So the temptation with this is that all of a sudden you start to bold multiple different keyword phrases throughout your entire article, or you start linking everything. That is very, very bad, okay? Instead, you just want to pick a few keyword phrases and link them or bold them. I would say 3, 4 kind of max, because again, you just want to emphasize those main keyword phrases. Now, before I talk to you about your content plan, there's just one other thing that I want to tell you about the structure of your blog post that a lot of people miss out on, and that is having a call to action at the end, okay? So when people are reading about the 3 ways to improve your email marketing, don't just conclude with the last way and then, that's it. You have to lead people someplace next. So if they haven't already clicked through the other links in your article, at the very end, I always leave a call to action, and it's always a little bit different for every blog post that I write. Sometimes I'm suggesting people to make a comment answering a certain question. Sometimes I'm asking them to share this article on social media so that I can impact more people. Sometimes I am suggesting that they opt into my email list or go to a certain services page on my website or request my service menu or subscribe to my YouTube page or whatever it is. And you only really want to try to focus on one call to action, 2 at the most. I try to get away with 2. I try to, suggest that they create a comment below and that they also share this article on social media. But if you ask people to do too many things, they're not going to do anything. So give them really clear direction on ultimately one thing that you want them to do the most, and then chances are that they will do that. So that's kind of the structure that you want to look for in your blog post. Now let's switch gears and talk about the content plan. And this is going to help you so that you don't have to have, writer's block anymore, hopefully. And so here we go. This is what I did. It forever changed my business. It made everything so much easier. So I took out a blank a blank piece of paper. I guess you could do it in a Word document too, but for me, I really like handwriting things and making drawings. It's just easier for me to map out my content that way. So take out a blank piece of paper, and at the very top of it, write your umbrella topic. That's what I call it, or your primary topic. So for me, it would be online business development, because I can help you build your business online, right? Then what I want you to do is come up with 5 subcategories of that main umbrella topic. Okay, so we'll call these category topics. Now, yes, you could have 6. I have 6 or 7. You could have 3. I'd say 5 is kind of a sweet spot, though, in order for you to generate lots of lasting content. So let's stick with 5. So I would have online business development at the top, and then I would break that down into category topics such as, branding, website, social media, list building, I don't know, whatever else, marketing, and, well, that's 5. Okay, so those are my category topics. And this might take you a little bit of time to try to figure this out for you, but that's why, I take out a piece of paper and just scribble with it and have some fun with it. But you come up with 5 category topics. Then think about it like a hierarchy or like a tree or a mind map. You want to come up with 3 topics beneath that category. So for example, if I have, online business development and branding as my first category topic, then I would come up with my subtopics from there, and underneath branding could be tagline, mission statement, client avatar, personality, coloring, etc. So just come up with as many as you can subtopics of that category. And then under website, it could be, design, blogging, content, social media integration, WordPress, whatever it is. And now, so essentially what you have is your umbrella topic. You have these categories which can become your main blog categories. And now everything you write sits within these 5 categories, which makes your life so much easier. You don't have to stray outside of that. But then now you have a list of things that you could write about beneath each category topic. So now essentially in the course of this exercise, you've created 100 different things that you could write about. And you can always expand or revise that list or add an extra category if one so happens to come up in your business. But this is going to save you so much time. When you sit down to write a blog post, just pull up that piece of paper, find the topic that is inspiring you the most, that's going to be the easiest and fastest to write about, and then boom, knock out the blog post. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll sit down on a Friday afternoon and I'll write out 3 or 4 or 5 blog posts when I'm really, in the groove and I've got that momentum built up. I'll knock out multiple blog posts at once and then schedule them to drop in the future. And then that way I don't have that anxiety knowing that I have a blog post that I need to publish this week. And it's also a really good idea to get on a schedule with your blog posts so that you're really conditioning your audience to always expect that blog post on Tuesdays and Thursdays, for example. But if you're kind of all over the place and publishing at random days and times, it can get a little, confusing. It's harder for your audience to really engage with that blog post or with that blog. So come up with the schedule, and I think that's going to make your life easier to make sure that you are getting it done, right? And then it's also going to condition your audience as well. So back to this content plan, it's just so awesome because not only now do you have a lot of different topics that you can write about, but then this can become the foundation for your product and content plan. Okay, so what I did from here is now if you have these 5 topics, you can create a free introductory product that talks about the 5 ways to build your business online, or the 5 things to focus on to build your business online. And this free product can give an introduction to, you want to focus on branding, you want to focus on your website, you want to focus on social media and list building and marketing. So now you have that introductory product. From there, you can create a 5-week online course on how to build your business online, and each week you're covering one of these 5 topics. It can be the foundation for a membership website. I mean, it just makes your life so much easier because now you're organized in terms of the content plan for your topic. So I really encourage you as homework to go out and create that content plan today, and then get into a routine with blogging because it's just going to make your life so much easier. And again, really looking at the long term of this. Are you in business just to, make a few bucks here and there? Probably not. You're probably in business because you have a long-term goal in mind. You want to build a following. You want to lead a movement. You want to lead an industry. You want to become the go-to authority of your industry maybe. And in order to do that, you're going to have to establish yourself as a credible, trusted source. And blogging is one of the best ways to do that. Not only for yourself. I mean, when somebody goes to a website and they say 3 blog posts, very different than when you go to a website and you see 100 blog posts, right? So it's really going to offer that credibility. And if you're writing about valuable topics, it's really going to create that connection with your audience, and it's going to create trust. When people know, like, and trust you, that's when they buy from you. So again, if you're putting your personality into your blog post, you're going to really be making a connection. If you're adding value into your blog post, then people are going to trust you, and more, they're going to share that blog post on their social networks. So make sure that at the bottom of all of your blog posts, you have social media sharing icons where within a click, somebody can share that article on Facebook. It's free advertising. I love social media sharing icons. And also, just as a sidebar tip, it would be a good idea for you to also have an opt-in box just below those social media sharing icons, and maybe on your opt-in box you say something like, do you want more valuable content? Well, sign up for automatic updates or something like that. It's a great way to build a list as well. So now we've talked about blogging on your website. Obviously, we're going to be promoting that on social media and newsletters. But the last thing that I want to leave you with to get you thinking a little bit bigger is blogging for other people's websites. And this is such a smart strategy to really grow quickly, okay? And it's going to grow your exposure and your credibility big time. So there are all kinds of sites out there in your industry or related industries that offer, some people call it an online magazine or a guest blog. Either one is accurate. So think, for example, about entrepreneur.com, Huffington Post, The Daily Love, Mind Body Green. There's a lot of these websites out there that are just jam-packed with content from guest bloggers. You can go to a site like Mind Body Green, for example, and find the Write for Us page. That's usually what they call it, Write for Us. It's going to either be in the top navigation somewhere, but most likely it's going to be in the very bottom of the website in the footer. And when you click on that, it's going to have this whole page about how you can write a guest article for this website. It will offer guidelines, suggested topics, and submission rules. So definitely go out and see if you can find 15 credible websites that have a lot of traffic, that are more established, that you can write a guest blog post for. Because the beautiful thing is that you're going to be published on that website. And now they're naturally going to promote your blog post because it's a part of their website and they're trying to give their audience new content. And so now you are getting automatic exposure to the huge network that they have already built. And they are promoting your name on their social media, probably their newsletter, and forever on their website. What else is going to happen as a result of this is that when you are writing for more high-profile websites, then on your website you can say, as seen in, or guest articles on, and you can add in the logos for the different websites that you've been on that are more recognized, which is really, really powerful. Because when people go to your website, they're going to say, wow, this person has written for the Huffington Post and been featured in, I don't know, whatever industry related websites that are going to offer you as a credible source. That's huge. Also, when you're doing guest blogging, it opens up a great opportunity for joint venture relationships. If you're looking at other people who have also submitted articles on that website, then it's an easy opening to reach out to that person and engage with them and say, hey, I saw we both wrote an article on the Huffington Post. Tell me a little bit more about your business. So it's a great way, it's a great lead-in for more networking as well. Not only can you consider writing a blog post on somebody else's website, but you could consider also having guest blogging on your website. So if you are a business owner that has a really busy schedule or you don't like writing blog posts, then you can consider having your own guest blogging program. There is a whole setup that is involved with it because you want to make sure that each author can get their own WordPress username and password. If they're a regular contributing author, it's a good idea to have some sort of a welcome packet that teaches them how to upload their article to WordPress and what topics they're allowed to write about, etc. But I personally manage guest blogging for multiple different big websites that are out there where they have 15 guest articles coming in every single month, and they're publishing 3 days a week and leveraging that throughout their community. And the beautiful thing is that the author who contributes that guest blog post is also promoting that article throughout their social networks and through their newsletter. So now you're basically having all of their network come back to you where you have the hub of all of these articles. So we covered a lot of really great strategies here today to get far better results with your blogging, but the biggest takeaways that I want to leave you with is be authentically you, write on a consistent basis, create your content plan so that you're no longer overwhelmed and everything is organized and back on track. Continue to promote those articles long after you've written them because they are still of value, and look to get your blog posts featured on other industry-related websites so that you're building your audience even more quickly. So hopefully you thought that those strategies were helpful. I would love to know your top takeaway. If you can leave a comment below just really quick and let me know the top takeaway that you got, your favorite tip or strategy, I'd really be curious to hear your thoughts. Also, if you want, please subscribe to my YouTube channel to get future notifications when these training episodes are live, as well as help me share this on social media because I really want to impact more people with this powerful message, and I'm going to need your help to do that. I want to thank you again so much for your time, and I can't wait to chat with you next week.